I have gathered all the information we have on the upcoming Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree, expected to be released on the 21st of June 2024, and I'll present that information to you all now, my fellow fantasy game lovers. So welcome to another video by me, the Ranger George, as we explore Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree, everything we know so far. The story of this DLC, or I should say expansion, because FromSoftware have publicly revealed it is the largest DLC they have ever made, will follow the player as they track Miquella through a new area, the Land of Shadow. During this adventure, the player will meet a new enemy, Messmer the Impaler, who is assumed to be the final boss of this expansion and a significant figure in the lore. Messmer the Impaler is an incredibly mysterious character, but many fans speculate that this character may be the offspring of Marika and Radagon, primarily because it was confirmed that like Miquella, Mohg, and Malenia, he is a demigod, and well, his hair is also red. It was also theorized that he will have some relation to the egg in Mohg's lair that Miquella was thought to have been trapped in and twisted into something evil before she fled to the Land of Shadow, except players think that instead of Miquella, it was in fact Messmer that was trapped in this egg. Possibly he switched places voluntarily or was tricked, but this was what led to him becoming twisted and the villain in this new expansion. I don't know how much merit this theory has, as I'm pretty sure it's Miquella's arm in the egg and Miquella that was in the egg, but we'll have to see, it's a little bit confusing. In fact, in regard to Miquella, it's thought that she could be our guide when we're going through the Land of Shadows, or she will have a significant role there when we play that expansion. The lore for this expansion is not a new addition written for it, but in fact has been part of the mythos from the very beginning. To quote Hidetaka Miyazaki, the creator of Elden Ring, from a recent interview with Eurogamer, the Shadow of Erdtree is part of George R.R. Martin's originally written mythos for Elden Ring. It's not a new thing made for the DLC, it was planned from the beginning, it is part of the original story, they thought it would fit well into the new expansion. This quote is important because it lets us know that in the base game, there may already be clues as to what this expansion has in store. In fact, players have already found a possible connection. Behind an illusionary wall in the Sage's Cave of Atlas Plateau, a wooden shield can be found. Although before this expansion it seemed only mildly interesting, it now appears to contain references to the expansion. It is described as a tall, medium-sized wooden shield, light for its size and easy to handle, but its later description is where the lore implications come in. Thought to represent a surreptitious prophecy of cardinal sin, the lit candle tree design was forbidden. This candle tree symbol is associated with Messmer's faction, and is featured prominently in the recently released trailer. This piece of lore in the base game shows that the story of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree appears to be incredibly thought out, and I'm even more excited to play it now. It reminds me of the A Night to Remember trailer from The Witcher 3, and how eventually Orianna appeared in The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, or maybe something like at the start of The Witcher 3 when you meet Gaunter O'Dim, then he's the main villain of Hearts of Stone. It's always nice to have something like that, and it really gives something for players to connect with about what's going to come later on in the game, and makes the world feel like, oh, this is a proper world, this isn't just disconnected threads of something, this is a proper world. As I said, this is the largest expansion ever made by FromSoftware, and with that comes a whole host of new locations. It will have ghostly grasslands, ruins, great caverns, and new dungeons, as well as dungeons similar to those already in the base game. To quote Miyazaki in an interview with Eurogamer, this time we wanted to go more in depth and bring a denser and richer level design, which brings these types of layouts together a little more seamlessly. There of course will be large open areas, there of course will be legacy dungeons, but we've also experimented with something a little more in between these as well, to bring a more diverse gameplay experience. So the game will be keeping in line with what we expect from an Elden Ring expansion, or an expansion to any kind of Souls game. It will be an expansion consisting of the existing styles we love and the themes that we love, except as with every Souls game, they will just be expanding upon those systems and trying out new mechanics and new stuff that players are able to enjoy. Eurogamer also asked about another common area that's in a lot of Souls games and is in the base game, and this is about the poison swamps. Miyazaki replied, "In a word, yes, but this was actually a point of introspection for me after creating the base game. It was only after creating it that I realised I really like to create poison swamps, and this was a little place of introspection and reflection for me. So maybe when players reach the poison swamp in the DLC, they'll feel a little bit of this retrospection. So it's possible this type of poison swamp could be a little bit different to what we normally expect, or it could just be the same. It's always cool to have the poison swamps, I'm always up for that. And it's also believed that we will enter the realm of the shadow through touching the withered arm at Miquella's cocoon, so it'll be cool to go back there. So far, we think there will be at least 10 new boss fights, each with their own mechanics as is expected of a Souls game. To quote Miyazaki once again, we wanted to provide these challenging encounters and these menacing threats, and in order to do that, we wanted to give the player a lot of freedom of approach. We wanted them to feel free in how they choose, and when they choose to approach and tackle these hardships. So players will have a lot of freedom in how they choose to tackle these fights, which I think is so great for those who want to try multiple playthroughs, although this is all keeping in line with most Souls games. Miyazaki also addressed the most difficult fight in the base game, with Malenia, and said, "So players who look for that sort of challenge in our games will find a challenge on equal footing in the DLC as well. So rest assured there will be no easy mode for this game, and the difficulty will remain equal or even more so, which it should be. I mean guys, this is a Souls game. If it's too hard, play something else or watch a playthrough. There's loads of games out there for you to try. These guys know what they're doing for now, and let's just trust them with the difficulty that they think is good for this game." I personally love that there's just one difficulty. I think that's such a great thing about these games. Everyone is the same. If you complete the game, everyone completed it. There will be many new weapons in the upcoming expansion, with Miyazaki confirming they will add an Odaichi, a large katana, Gyakutenken, or reverse handsword, martial arts, throwing daggers, and a double-bladed shield. But 8 new categories of weapons are confirmed, as well as new weapons for the existing categories. There will also of course be new armor, spells, and skills. Honestly, this expansion is looking to be truly massive, and learning more and more about it, and the amount of content that will be available, makes it look significantly better than most DLC coming out in recent years. This might be on par with something like The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine. It's going to be really interesting to see it on release. And I really like these kind of expansions, because I think so many companies, they make these amazing story games, then they just leave it. And it'd be nice to have a couple of these big expansions where you see the world a bit more with this amazing game they've made. So this is all great news. The expansion will be available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Steam or PC, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X, so pretty much everything except the Switch. Which is great because unlike a lot of recent exclusives, almost everyone will be able to play this at launch. However, it will cost around $40, well specifically $39.99, or £35 or £34.99, which is pretty expensive. But perhaps because of how large it is, it's almost like another game from what I can tell, so compared to most AAA games, this is a pretty decent price, and if it's going to be essentially a new game anyway, it's not really that expensive. There are some other editions available as well, such as the Collector's Edition, in which a 46cm statue of Messmer the Impaler is included. There's an art book, a voucher code, and an official soundtrack, which you can get if you buy this collector's edition, and you can also purchase a separate thing they're releasing, and they're only making, I think it's 10,000 or something, which is quite a lot to be honest, but they're making the helmet of Messmer the Impaler if you want to just actually buy that and have that on your desk, which could be pretty cool. So just letting you guys know about these options that are out there, maybe check if you want to get any of that. It looks to me like this will be a massive expansion and great for Souls players that are waiting for something new to try out in The Lands Between. It will have new bosses, new areas, new weapons, new characters, all planned out from the creation of the world. I imagine it will be a natural extension of what we've seen before, and I look forward to playing it and exploring all of this and hopefully defeating Messmer the Impaler. Thank you for watching today's video. Please like it to support this sort of content and subscribe if you're new and want to see more. Follow me on X or Twitter for any updates, leave any suggestions you have down in the comments below, and thank you to the Patreon pledges for supporting today's video. I really appreciate it, guys. I'd love to know what you all think about the upcoming DLC or expansion, so please let me know in the comments down below as well, and thank you for watching today's video. Good luck on your adventures, everyone.